right, how's everyone doing? Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Chairman Kassar. Thank you, everybody, for your conservative leadership and values. And I want to welcome everybody to Albany, which is the home of the most dysfunctional government, not led by Gavin Newsom, but it's just as dysfunctional. Here we are. We're in the shadow of the Capitol of what I call is the most beautiful and expensive insane asylum in the nation, and they prove me right every day on that. I spent 7 years there before I thankfully escaped to different pastures. But we are just blocks away from where hopeless Hochul and terrible Tish James look out over failure after failure throughout New York State, all of it created and a product of their party's leadership. A place where more and more say they came from instead of a place where they're going to live. The failures of the Democratic Party, hopeless Hochul, terrible Tish, are why we are shamefully near the top of every list of states that people are leaving. And if you look at what's happened to us over the years, 1 million people have left New York in a decade. 1 million people. Had those people been here, most of them are our voters, Lee Zeldin would be governor right now if we had kept our people here. But they left because the place has fallen apart. So we can't really blame them for that, but we want them back. New leadership will bring them back. We know New York State government led by liberals is an epic disaster. We see it every day. And I want to tell some of the success stories that we've had in Rensselaer County on my watch as county executive, thanks to common sense, conservative leadership. And the list is pretty long, but I won't go through all of it. I will just say that we've had some incredible success. And if you look at what we've done just alone on taxes, 7 years in office, the taxes are 40% lower than when I took office. 7 years. Rensselaer County has 330 miles of county roads. We have paved 300 of them in 7 years. The other 30 will get done this year. That means in 8 years, we have paved every county road in Rensselaer County. That is a feat that has never been accomplished. We are averaging 40 to 45 miles a year. Previous administrations did 10 to 15 if they were lucky. So our roads are in incredible shape. We hear that all the time, that people know they've arrived in Rensselaer County when they're not busting tires or breaking axles. They know the roads are smooth. Stronger services. We haven't cut a single service. We've grown our surplus to the highest level it has ever been in county history. Our bond rating is the highest it's ever been. When I came into office, our surplus was $20 million. We grew that in 4 years only to $120 million in 4 years. We then spent some of that down as we embarked on a very much needed renovation of county facilities that had not been touched since Jimmy Carter was in office, who was the worst president of my lifetime until the recent president just exited. Jimmy Carter, I never thought I'd see anybody make Carter look competent, but Joe Biden did. We have not cut a single services. We have built a brand new emergency services training center for $6.5 million. It's what I promised to do after the previous one under my predecessor had been condemned a decade earlier. We did that. We bought $15 million in new highway equipment. We lowered our debt. We built 3 brand new senior centers. The 4th one is under construction as we speak. We are hitting it out of the park in Rensselaer County. Our sales tax in 2019 was the single highest growth in New York State. We have opened up business. We have opened up opportunity for people to spend their money in Rensselaer County, and the success is evident. Why? Common sense, conservative leadership. If for no other reason you want to live there, 40% lower taxes is pretty good. You're paying a rate now in Rensselaer County that people paid in the early 90s. Pretty amazing record of success that we've had. We are showing that it can be done, but don't think for a second that Hochul or Tish James or Andrew Cuomo before them like to see that. In fact, they don't. We angered them every day. They don't seem to enjoy being thoroughly embarrassed in their incompetence and corruption. But they came at us in Rensselaer County with everything they had, along with an attack by the Biden administration. But they all learned that Rensselaer County does not back down from a fight, ever. And if you come at me, you better kill me. And they did not. What the corrupt Democrats want, need, and absolutely must have is compliance. Because for them, power and control is everything. And when they can't control you, when they don't get it, then they fear you. And when they fear you, they try to kill you. And that's exactly what they did to me. Tish James filed some ridiculous charges against me. Some of you probably heard about it. Over absolutely nothing. $150,000 in fees, trying to tear my life apart, slander me throughout the press and throughout the news. And by the way, no matter how much you hate the mainstream media, it is not enough, trust me. She tried everything she could to come at me. Within 5 minutes, the jury was done. We never put up a defense. As soon as they were done with their fraudulent trial, we just said the defense rests. Within minutes of the opening of that trial, it was over. Tish James was embarrassed. She was destroyed. And, you know, but the damage is done in a way. But to come out of that with a 5-minute jury verdict is pretty amazing. And jurors later told me, they said there was nothing to discuss. We walked in the room, had a drink of water, and said, let's get out of here. We got to go home. They waited 30 minutes, he said, just to make it look good, but there was nothing to even discuss. When they were done with that, they came after my senior staff. And that was the FBI and the DOJ, because they don't like to be told no. So they came at us. And my senior team prevailed as well. And for those that know anything about the FBI and the DOJ, under the Biden administration, an absolute corrupt organization, my people prevailed as well. If anybody that knows anything about FBI cases, DOJ cases, they win 98 to 99% of the time, but not in Rensselaer County, not here. So that acquittal just enraged the deep state, and I think that's why they came at some of my people. So it was an amazing thing to work, you know, amazing thing to live through and see. But we got all of the things I told you we got done. We got all of that done while being under attack and while going through COVID. And I want to talk about that a little bit as well. But so I will say this. So many of our patriotic residents saw through it, and they stood with us, and we certainly appreciate them. And, you know, you think about when Donald Trump talked about when he got shot, and thank God, grace of God, only the grace of God saved that man's life. A turn of the head, bullet grazes his ear. You think about when he got up and he said, fight, fight, fight. It was not just about the election. It was about every day in this country that we as conservatives need to stand up and fight, fight, fight. And that's what we do in Rensselaer County. It's what all of you do every day. We stood up and fought in the courtrooms, and it was not the first time that we faced powerful enemies and won. In March of 2020, Andrew Cuomo issued his deadly nursing home order. We all remember that, right? In New York State, I was the only county executive in the entire state of New York that read that order and said, we are not complying with that. We will not comply. And with that, the full force of state government was set into motion against us. We had surprise inspections, we had fees, we had fines, we had all of the typical Cuomo bullying behavior that he was known for. But we stood up, we stood strong, we protected those seniors' lives. Because I recognize that our mission as elected officials is to stand up and to defend those unable to defend themselves. And we saved a lot of lives by saying no to Andrew Cuomo. Best thing we ever did. He was furious, I can tell you that, but we did not back down, because what leaders do, leaders lead. That's what I say every day, leaders lead. But sadly, you know, there's no cure for crazy in the world of politics, and it does look like Andrew Cuomo is somehow trying to make his latest comeback in New York City and become mayor. As if that city's government couldn't get any more hopeless. We all know this. We know MAGA stands for Make America Great Again. It also should stand for Make Andrew Gone Again. But progressives, they really do love their recycling. That's why they keep giving him a chance to come back. He's a bit like that scene from Officer and a Gentleman where Richard Gere just said, I got nowhere else to go. That's Andrew Cuomo. But, you know, what do you expect from a spoiled little mama's boy and a bully who's never held a real job in his entire life? New York City can do so much better than Andrew Cuomo. And I will say this, too. To me, what DEI really should stand for, don't elect idiots. That's especially true of Andrew Cuomo, who was chased from office and really should stay on the sidelines forever for the good of the city, for the good of the state and the nation. Cuomo went along with bail reform and started the era of New York State placing criminals ahead of law-abiding citizens. Look at how many neighborhoods have been lost or destroyed because of criminal justice policies that allow criminals to be ticketed and released for assaults, threats, abuse, and fraud. It was also under Cuomo, remember, that the sanctuary city idea became a reality and a policy. Nearly a decade ago, Cuomo was lecturing and posturing about how New York City and New York State would be sanctuaries to those seeking to enter with or without permission. And you notice how the left's language has somehow changed from they're poor little asylum seekers. When that didn't work after about 6 months of this country being invaded, they somehow eventually, reluctantly changed it to, well, they're immigrants. And now they've kind of morphed that into, well, now they're illegal immigrants, which is what we were saying the entire time. They are illegal immigrants. They do not belong in this nation. They broke into this nation. They need to come into this nation properly, and we will welcome every one of them with open arms. When you break into our nation, you are not welcome here. And you all heard, for those of you in upstate New York, you all heard and saw Eric Adams trying to force illegals into our communities. And by the way, he was so proud of it that he did it in the cover of darkness, right? You all do everything in the cover of darkness when you're proud of something. Middle of the night, their buses are arriving here, but not in Rensselaer County. Again, I stood up, said no, issued an emergency order that no municipality or no hotel, motel, multifamily dwelling can enter into an agreement with another municipality without my express written consent. The force of that has remained in place since last May when I signed those orders, and it has been effective. Not that we haven't had some problems. We have, because we have a train station in Rensselaer County. We've had some illegals come into the county, but we have stepped up and stopped them from entering into our community and tearing apart our social services safety net, which is there to protect American citizens. We will continue to issue those emergency orders. I sign them every 5 days so that we protect the people of Rensselaer County. The emergency orders have worked. We've largely kept them out, but we have had some instances. We had an illegal who was wanted for a stabbing down in Maryland, was let go by Maryland, ended up in Plattsburgh. They let him go and ended up in Rensselaer County and stabbed to death one of our citizens. We've had everything under the sun that everyone else has had, but we have not had that massive influx of people living here and draining our society of the resources that we need to protect our veterans and our American citizens. It's absolutely key that we will continue to do that. All of that was tragic and avoidable, but thank God for President Trump and his team who will restore law and order, and they're doing it every single day. President Trump did well in New York State in 2024. In fact, he did much better than expected or forecast to do. So I would ask you, are the odds too great for us in 2026 when we field candidates for governor, attorney general, and comptroller, along with all of our other seats? I would say no way are the odds too great for us in New York State. The people themselves are saying that we have a real opportunity, and yes, a real obligation to compete and compete successfully. Look at the work being done by Republican and conservative leaders in our state. Yes, I have shown how conservative principles by my administration have brought success in Rensselaer County. There are others. Bruce Blakeman down in Nassau County is fighting back and getting outstanding results. We have a congressional delegation that in 2022 helped restore a Republican majority. In fact, it was New York that was really responsible for getting the Republican majority in the House. We're going to hear from Ryan McMahon about his work and what he's been doing out there. Steve Newhouse, Ed Day. Those were the first two gentlemen, by the way, to issue the same emergency order I did. They were impacted immediately by Eric Adams. They stood up and fought for their communities just as I did. I was the third one. We had not had any buses arrive, but I wasn't going to wait for them to arrive here. We have a congressional delegation. Claudia Tenney is fighting for us. Nicole Malliotakis. Mike Lawler's here somewhere. Mike's here somewhere. The rest of our delegation, Nick Langworthy out there fighting the fight for us every day in Congress. Our Senate and Assembly up the hill fighting the fight. Boy, do I know what that's like to be up against it every day. Our own Lee Zeldin is now heading up the EPA, and Elise Stefanik, right here from the Capital Region, selected to represent America on the world stage at the United Nations. And while he calls Mar-a-Lago home, because of the insane tax policies of this state, we all know that Donald Trump is a true New Yorker. And I think President Trump will be very involved in the governor's race here next year and be very supportive of a MAGA conservative, common sense candidate. I fully expect President Trump to be involved and make New York a shining example of what we can do with Republican and conservative leadership. You're going to hear some people say about me, yeah, you know, Steve's great, but he's a lightning rod. Good. I am glad. By the way, so is President Trump. He's the all-time greatest lightning rod in history. Only a lightning rod would push back as fiercely as I did on the New York SAFE Act when Andrew Cuomo tried to jam that down our throat. Only a lightning rod would say no to putting COVID-positive seniors in nursing homes or fight fiercely to protect his constituents against PFOA in their water, as I did in Hoosick Falls, Steventown, and Petersburgh. Only a lightning rod would stand up and push back against an illegal alien invasion of our nation. Those that say that about me are either Democrats or weak rhinos that are far too willing to bow down to the insane left and try to destroy this nation. Ask yourself, what leaders have you ever seen in your life that are not lightning rods? So I'll wear that as a badge of honor. You know, for those of you that might have watched the TV show Yellowstone, there's a great scene in there where the cowboy's talking to another cowboy and this kid's on a bucking bronco and he says, you see that? You can't teach that. You're either born a willow or an oak. There are far too many willows in politics. It's time that we start electing more oaks. Far too many concerned about their reelection more so than the people that they serve. For me, it has always been about two things: the people and this nation. That's it. Maybe because at my heart and in my previous occupation, I was a commercial airline pilot. There was no room for error in the industry that I came up in. 14 years of flying airplanes, 12,000 hours of flight time. If I did not succeed in my mission, people were dead. Sadly, we just saw that the other day. No fault of those pilots flying that airplane. But if you do not complete the mission as a pilot, bad things happen. And I think I've carried that over to politics, where when I set out to do something, we are going to complete that mission. We are going to get it done. So it's been said that America is back. We can be very proud that New York's played a very prominent role in that comeback. Now it's our turn. We got to bring New York State back to where it's supposed to be, truly be the Empire State. Start fracking. Start getting people to come back here, cut the taxes, fix your infrastructure, all the stuff that we've been doing, except for the fracking. Although I would frack if we had gas in Rensselaer County. You know, I would say this: reality is coming really, really hard for Hochul and James and the rest of the insane far left. Voters are on to them. They know what's going on. They are paying attention. They want a government that provides a better future and protects their quality of life. We can expect a fierce battle from them. They will not give up control easily. They tried to claim they were a party of joy, but in reality, they are fueled by hatred of our values. They hate us because we win. They hate us because we are right. They hate us because we love America. And they hate what this country stands for and what it means to anyone seeking freedom. But let them keep their hate. Let them keep that. We have a country to save and a state to save. And all of you are on the front lines of that battle, that fight for freedom. Remember, the Conservative Party, especially in New York State, is in many ways the conscience of the entire movement. Many of you have been there right from the beginning. The days ahead are going to be filled with challenges and obstacles, but we have the most powerful ally in the Oval Office. President Trump knows the mission ahead, and he will not fail. He will not fail. The day of reckoning for progressive panderers and those who take the most, but our country, but our country and state last, is here. Those who have hurt America, put our families at risk, and damaged our future are being called to account. In 2024, we saved America, and that was largely because of the Conservative Party and conservative Americans. In 2026, we take back New York State. Are you ready? You ready? I am. God bless America. God bless President Trump. And may God look out over every one of us in America, every one of us. Thank you. God bless.